the diversity and the representation of other communities within the judicial system. Now, the Brennan Center, I believe in January this year, earlier this year at any rate, we put out a report. It's called Improving Judicial Diversity, and it looks at some of the most egregious states. We looked at 10 states, and we examined the state court systems there and what the numbers were, and we talked to judges, members of nominating commissions, and those sorts of people to figure out what could be done, why these trends existed, what could be done to improve the representation of other communities in the court system. And we came up with a series of recommendations. I would urge any of you that are interested, I didn't have a chance to bring copies of the report for everyone that's here tonight, but it's available on our website. You can just download it for free if you look it up, and certainly if any of you would like for me to send you a copy of the report, I'd be happy to do that. I won't get into going through and the laundry list of every single recommendation we made in that report, but I would just highlight a couple of the things that can bring awareness to the importance of diversity and also help to improve the number of women and minority lawyers that get appointed to the courts. Many states have had success by appointing commissions that will sort of screen and evaluate the qualifications of applicants to be judges. These commissions can be charged specifically with looking at the qualifications of female and minority candidates, and that can be an effective mechanism. Appointing a diversity ombudsman, somebody to look at this specifically and make recommendations. Particularly states where the governor appoints judges, having advisory bodies to weigh in on the governor's process so that other candidates that may not always be considered have a fair shake can be important proposals. And we can look, one thing I've thought is a possible area to look is surprisingly perhaps the National Football League, which has a policy called the Rooney Rule, which says that any team owner who wants to hire a coach before they make any hire has to interview candidates from minority communities. We could ask people involved in the judicial selection process to do something like that. So there are a number of proposals that would further diversity on the courts, that would not require quotas, that would not require bending any rules about qualifications, that would not require any appointing body to hire anybody who was not the highest qualified candidates in the state, but who could focus on certain communities that are underrepresented now. One of the big problems with getting good judges is that judges don't make a lot of money. And if you're a great lawyer and you're a smart and talented and successful attorney, you can make a heck of a lot more money down at the law firm suing the big companies or whatever it is that you might do than you can do in public service as a judge. So there's a lot of outreach that needs to be done to entice the most qualified candidates to serve as judges, to serve on the bench, and dedicate their careers to public service where they're not going to make a ton of money. There are a lot, as I said, of proposals. Many of them are in our report. I commend that to your attention. And many of them are kind of obvious. What many of these proposals have in common is that a lot of them have to do with tinkering around the edges, making reforms within the process of judicial selection. That is to say, they have to do with the process by which people apply to and get selected to serve on the benches. And so I think that sort of is a nice segue for me to talk about the process of judicial selection, which is the second major topic I'd like to focus on tonight. The basic theory being that if you improve the process that makes judges, you'll get better judges in the end. So that's a simple concept. Now, by way of sort of an overview and a general background, I should note that there are a number of different techniques or methods by which judges are selected in the different states. As I think we all probably know, in the federal system, the president appoints judges. The Senate then has to confirm. That can often be the site of a lot of partisan wrangling and very heated political fights. But that's how it works in the federal system. And in fact, that's fairly close to how it works here in New Jersey. The executive appoints, the legislature confirms. But that is not the rule in most states. Many states, 39 states, select at least some of their judges through elections, which is to say, just like a mayor or a governor or a member of Congress would run against a These are folks that want to be judges. They run against somebody else. In many cases, these are partisan elections. A Democrat runs against a Republican. In many cases, they're nonpartisan, although I have to say in many of the nonpartisan races, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, let's say, to figure out which party the two candidates are associated with. That's often pretty clear. But 4 out of 5, essentially 39 out of 50 states have at least some of their judges elected through contested elections. Other states, as I said, have appointment systems, and other states follow kind of a hybrid model. It's often called the Missouri Plan, in which there are merit commissions. There are specific bodies, sometimes composed of lawyers and non-lawyers, sometimes composed of all lay people, who screen candidates, make recommendations to the governor. Usually under these systems, the governor then appoints the judges, and often then the judges, after a year or after 3 years or some number like that, the judges run for what are called retention elections. So it's just an up or down vote. It's not running against another candidate. It's just, do we want that person to stay? We've seen them on the bench for 3 years. Do we think they're qualified to stay? So that's kind of the overview. As I said, New Jersey is a system that is similar to the federal government. The governor appoints all the judges here in the Garden State. And that's for judges either on the Supreme Court, the appellate court, or the Court of General Jurisdiction, the trial courts. Judges stand for reappointment after 7 years, and once they are reappointed, assuming they are, they will then have effectively lifetime tenure. They will serve until they're 70 years old. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that there hasn't been political wrangling and political issues with appointing judges in New Jersey, because I don't think I would be particularly credible if I said that. But I do want to say that as far as what we see in other states, New Jersey is really not doing badly. Some of the really egregious things we've seen in other states, we're lucky that we don't see here. I should point out there's a practice in New Jersey that's similar to what we have in the Congress, where senators from the home district of various judges generally can have effectively a veto over certain candidates if they're really out of the mainstream or they're really politically divisive. Generally, the Senate will respect the home district senators' wishes and not force those judicial appointees through. But as a general matter, things I think function pretty smoothly in New Jersey. There's a tradition of balance between the political parties. Governors have generally replaced judges who retire or who reach the age of 70 with another judge of the same political party. There's generally, at least, been a balance on the Supreme Court where there are 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and then the chief judge is from the party of the governor. So while it perhaps does not work perfectly, I think New Jersey has worked fairly well, the system here. So that's not to paint too rosy a picture, and there's certainly problems here. But some of the worst problems, some of the most egregious problems that other states have faced haven't been seen here. And there are many reasons for that, and the political culture of every state is very different. But one of the reasons I think that New Jersey has been free of some of the really egregious problems is that there are no elections here. And there are folks that argue very strongly that that elections for judges are the most democratic system, that they allow the people the greatest voice in selecting who should sit on the bench. I think there's some validity to those arguments. There are some counter-arguments, of course, that injects too much politics into the system of selecting judges, that judges then are forced to fundraise and they're forced to get out on the campaign trail and commit to certain partisan positions if they want to have any hope of getting the nomination to run. And so there are, I think, legitimate arguments on that side, too, that elections create too partisan of an environment and, in fact, bring too much politics into selecting judges. We need to really resolve that debate over appointment versus election here tonight, because the fact is elections are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. There are admittedly some attempts to replace elections with appointive systems in various states, but those campaigns are not, by and large, the most successful. I mean, if you just think about it, if you're trying to replace a system where the people vote with a system where a group of experts advise the governor and the governor makes an appointment, it's not hard to get out there and run a couple of TV